In a meadow adorned with grass and the faintest breeze whispering through the air, a foal, still fresh to the world, galloped swiftly across the vast, open plains. His bright, eager eyes reflected the innocence of youth and the freedom of the open land. Just a few days old, he had already embraced the excitement of the wild, running beside his mother, Raya. She was a powerful mare, her coat sleek and her movements fluid, but even she knew the dangers that lurked in the land. As the foal ran, laughing with the wind, Raya's gaze was sharp, always alert. She had seen the price of freedom before. She had witnessed the cruelty of men, of hunters who stalked the wild, eager to claim what was not theirs. She had made it her life's mission to protect the wild, her family, and her herd. But today that danger would come too close. A sharp, thunderous crack broke the stillness, the sound of a gunshot that echoed across the field. The foal, unaware of the impending danger, was struck. With a sudden, painful cry, he collapsed to the ground, his legs crumpling beneath him as his body trembled in agony. Raya's heart raced and her instincts kicked in. The sound of the gunshot still lingered in the air, but her focus was entirely on the foal. Without hesitation she rushed to him, her hooves pounding the earth, her mane flying wild. The foal, dazed, looked up at his mother with pain in his eyes. Raya reached him in a heartbeat, her muzzle brushing against his trembling body, and her thoughts instantly turned to the one who had caused this, the hunter. With her eyes narrowed, she saw the flash of a rifle barrel protruding from behind a distant rock, the glint of the hunter's aim. His presence was now clear, and the anger that coursed through Raya's veins was undeniable. She would not allow him to harm her foal any further. She stood tall, her body brimming with power and rage. The hunter fired once more, but Raya was already charging forward, her speed unmatched as she sprinted directly toward the rifleman. In one swift motion she leapt forward, using the full force of her strength to knock the gun from his grasp. The rifle flew into the air, landing several feet away, and the hunter staggered backward in fear, his grip faltering. Raya's eyes locked with his. There was no mercy in her gaze. She stood firm, her body tense and ready for anything. The hunter, unable to comprehend the audacity of the mare, took several steps back, his feet faltering as fear took over him. She had made her point. "Your gun will never protect you here." Raya's voice was low, filled with the power of a mother's vengeance. The hunter, now thoroughly intimidated, retreated, stumbling away as Raya stood her ground, the defiance in her eyes burning brightly. With the hunter retreating into the distance, Raya's immediate concern was her foal. She gently nudged the foal with her muzzle, encouraging him to rise. But his legs trembled and the wound from the bullet was deep. He winced, pain flickering across his face. "No, little one," Raya whispered, her voice full of compassion. "You'll be okay. I won't let them take you from me." With swift determination, Raya lifted him up with her strength, keeping him close to her body. Her instincts screamed for her to run to get the foal to safety. But she also knew that running wouldn't be enough. The hunter and his people would come back. Raya's mind raced, plotting their next move. She knew the wild better than anyone, and she had seen enough to understand that they could never outrun the danger. They needed to face it. The hunter had shown his hand, he wanted them. He would come again. But this time they would be ready. As they moved deeper into the forest, Raya's thoughts were consumed with vengeance. This wasn't just about survival. It was about showing the hunter that no one could take the wild's freedom. Not while she still breathed. She glanced down at the foal, who was struggling to stay on his feet. He would heal, she knew that. But her rage, her need for justice, burned brighter than ever. Night fell quickly over the forest, the moonlight filtering through the trees. Raya and the foal found shelter beneath a thick patch of foliage. The mare stood watch, her senses heightened, every crack of a twig or rustling of leaves sending her into a defensive stance. She would not let her guard down. She had to make sure the hunter didn't find them again. But she also knew one thing was certain. When he came, they would fight back. The days that followed were filled with tension. The foal's wound was slowly healing, though the pain remained evident in his every step. Raya, ever watchful, was never far from him. They moved through the forest, constantly on the lookout for any sign of the hunter or his group. Raya knew she had to prepare. The wild was a harsh world where the strong survived and the weak perished. She had always been strong, and now, more than ever, she would need that strength to protect her family. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Raya stood at the edge of a clearing, watching the last light fade from the sky. The foal stood beside her, his body leaning against hers for support. She could feel the bond between them growing stronger with each passing moment. "We'll be ready," Raya murmured, her voice filled with conviction. The foal nickered softly as if he understood, and Raya's heart swelled with pride. He was growing stronger each day. As they moved deeper into the wild, Raya began to teach him how to navigate the forest, how to be silent, how to evade danger. He was young, but the fire in his heart was undeniable. He would learn and he would survive. But in the back of her mind, Raya could still hear the sound of the gunshot that had sent them running. She would never forget the day the hunter had come for them. And when the time came, they would fight back. The day the hunter returned, it was as if the earth itself held its breath. Raya and the foal had been preparing, always moving, always watching. They had learned the land, and the land had taught them to survive. But now the final confrontation had arrived. Raya stood tall, her hooves planted firmly in the earth, her eyes blazing with the fire of freedom. The hunter's figure emerged from the trees, his rifle raised, but this time, there was no fear in Raya's eyes. This time she was ready. "You will not take my family." Raya's voice was low and filled with power, her words cutting through the air like a blade. The hunter hesitated, his eyes darting between Raya and the foal. He had seen her power before, but something in her demeanor now was different. There was no fear left in her. In a flash, Raya charged, her body moving with incredible speed. She closed the distance between them in seconds, knocking the rifle from his hands once again. But this time she didn't stop. She pressed him back, her body blocking his escape, her eyes filled with the weight of the wild. "You will never control us," Raya said, her voice firm, unwavering. The hunter, defeated and powerless, dropped to his knees, his hands raised in surrender. Raya stood over him, victorious. As the sun set behind her, Raya turned to her foal. "Freedom has a name," she whispered, "and it's ours." With that, they walked away, the wild embracing them once again. They were free.